Hello, everybody. Steve Politi, Brian Fonseca here at SHI Stadium. 38-28 loss to Iowa for the Scarlet Knights. I got to tell you, this game started obviously not great with the touchdown by Iowa on the opening kickoff, but then you're like, the way Rutgers was scoring touchdowns on the first three possessions against a defense that they had only scored 17 points total in the four previous meetings, you thought, what? This might be easy. They just might run them out of the building. And then womp womp.
Womp womp indeed. And they scored 21 points on their first three drives. They scored 7 points the rest of the way. To be fair to the offense, they set up two field goals that were not successful, which is 6 points that they could have taken some credit for. That, to me, is the biggest takeaway from this, is that essentially the Rutgers offense has to play perfectly or damn near close to it to beat a team of Iowa's caliber. And they played pretty well, but not enough to overcome two missed field goals, the opening kickoff being returned for a touchdown, and a defense that could not get a stop because it got penalized every single time it did anything positive.
Yeah, and that was it. Too many penalties. The one defensive holding penalty on a third down play would have got them off the field late. It's just, again, you mentioned it, two missed field goals, one doink, one looked like there might have been a penalty on Iowa on that play but still, a blocked field goal, defensive breakdowns. And I asked Greg Shannon about it, and I understand what he's saying. It did feel like late in the game, it's just a couple of play calls where that offense just goes into a shell sometimes when you've got these moments where you're like, go out and get it. Go out and win this game. You're handing off on second and long in a situation. You're like, oh, no. Now you're setting up a third and long. Disaster. That's the interception. That's the ball game.
Right. And look, I agree with him that 28 points should be enough to win a game, especially against Iowa. But this is not a normal team in the sense that this defense is not good enough to win games with just 28 points. And to that end, to your point, we argued about this, but the end of the first half, to me, is emblematic of that exact issue where the offense is moving the ball and Iowa's defense is not able to stop them, and they get the ball, 1:30 left roughly. They're at their 10-yard line, and instead of taking a shot, at least one pass, they run the ball 3 times to kill Iowa's 2 timeouts, punt the ball with 10 seconds left, and essentially end the half because they're getting it back. In my mind, that's an opportunity to, one, have a lap where you score before halftime and after, and 2, keep putting pressure on Iowa's defense because they must have been so relieved when Rutgers didn't even try.
Yeah, I disagree with it, but I understand what you're saying. I just think that deep in your own end, 10-yard line, a minute left, it's not really realistic to expect to score. You're getting the ball back. It's a tie game. You don't want to be, of course, as I say this, you don't want a disaster to happen. The disaster almost happened anyway because the unthinkable part is they punted the ball to the guy who scored their ace returner instead of just punting it out of bounds, which was a big mistake. And just a lot of little things like that, and it's just another one of these nights where you've got 55,000 or so fans, everyone wearing black, everyone mostly here on time, and bravo, Rutgers fans, the place electric, just a vibe in the building. Everybody goes home disappointed.
It's a missed opportunity. An Iowa columnist that we know well, Mike Kloss, wrote that these teams like Iowa this weekend were fighting to keep the teams in the lower level of the Big Ten down. And until Rutgers wins a game like this, that's the way they're going to be perceived. Greg Schiano said they didn't deserve to win this game, very reminiscent of last year's game against Washington, where they also didn't deserve to win, and they lucked their way into a win. That didn't happen tonight. And I think that this is a missed opportunity, 1, to beat a team like Iowa, but 2, for the fan base that comes out like this, sets a record crowd, allegedly, in attendance at SHI Stadium. It's going to be hard to convince those people to keep coming out for events like this when they don't get the payoff for a day like this.
Right. And now you're facing a situation where Rutgers almost has to win one of these next 2 games on the road, at Minnesota, at Washington. Some injuries in positions where they can't afford to lose players. Did Moses Walker come back? I didn't see him come back after that.
He did not. He was put in air cast and carted off, which is a horrible sign.
That's not good.
CJ Campbell, who Greg just told us is out for the year, was also carted off. Every guy that's been carted off so far this year is out for the year. You're down a starting linebacker. That's a position that's already thin. You're going to ask a lot of Abram Wright, who's dealing with his own, up and down situation, injury-wise too. To your point, this was a game, now that you lost this, you have to win one of the next 2. It's not, you have to, because if you lose these next 2 games, you're at a spot where you have to win your 2 most wins against Purdue and Maryland, and you have to upset somebody, which, given the teams on the schedule, is no easy task.
Right. Yes. And it was right here. It was right there for them to take. Again, disappointing loss. I think if everyone feels this was kind of a pivotal game. Went the other way. Sorry, Rutgers fans. Signing off from SHI Stadium. Listen to our podcast tomorrow morning. We'll have a special episode to discuss all this in greater detail. Thanks.